The following story is about a real homicide investigation with graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised. Previously on The Murder Mind. As soon as I started reading him his Miranda rights, he interrupted me and said, "No, I want a lawyer." So although Lee Hines won't speak to me without an attorney, I've got an ace up my sleeve. I've got a court order to take head hairs, to actually swab his mouth for DNA, and to actually take palm prints. Nitty is in our jail. I know that these guys use the phone, and there's a system in place where those phone calls are recorded.
The only thing that they got against me is about the car, me being in the car.
This is coming from a guy, when I interviewed him, didn't know the victim, knows nothing about her, but here I am listening to a conversation where he admits that he was in her car. I knew that that was one piece of evidence that the jury is going to get to hear that conclusively puts him in the car. And guess what? I don't even have the forensics back yet. All right, so let's catch up. I have charged Lee Hines with the murder of LaCharity Gaines and had him transported from New York City to the city of Atlanta in our jail. While he's there, I get another warrant to pluck 25 head hairs and do a buccal swab to get his DNA, all to compare to evidence in this particular case. At this point in the investigation, I'm feeling good. I've got this guy in my custody. I've got a plethora of evidence that's mounting against him.
How many minutes I've been on the phone?
6 minutes and 7 seconds.
So I'm listening to hours and hours of conversations over a long period of time between Nitty and his girlfriend, Maria.
Man, I'm here calling you. I'm in jail in Atlanta. Like, hello, like.
What I'm looking for is something in a conversation where Nitty starts to talk about the actual case, evidence that I can use in court, that I can introduce to a jury, something incriminating.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what they had on me, what they could possibly have to open the case back. That gotta be that me being in the car.
This was absolutely huge. And right now, I just gotta wait for these forensics to get back to me, to confirm what my suspicions are, to put the proverbial big red bow and tie this thing up. So now a month has gone by since I started listening in on Nitty's phone calls. And I get a call from the actual assistant district attorney that's gonna try this case to let me know that they've reached the point in the case where they've gotta share what's called discovery with the defense. They have to give Nitty and his attorney the entire file of my investigation. Nitty's lawyer has the right to have all of the information from my investigation to launch a proper defense. That's what the Constitution and the laws of this country should be doing. And that's exactly what happened. They get to see every person that I interviewed, the names of the people that gave information against Nitty, what they said. So once the lawyer gets discovery, they typically give that copy of the file to their client in the jail. So while they're sitting there waiting trial, a defendant has to be able to properly assist in their defense. So typically, as they're reading through the file, they have discussions with their attorney in order to defend themselves. So now that I know that Nitty has my entire investigative file, I want to know who he's talking to again and what his thoughts are and what I've done so far. So I'm tuned back in to his jail calls. I want to know what he thinks about my investigation. So I start listening in. He's calling Maria. What's interesting is I don't hear Nitty telling Maria anything about his discovery package.
Did you have something to eat today?
I'm eating it right now. Some cheddar with sour cream, ruffles.
He's talking about life in jail. He's talking about how her day was. She's giving him a play-by-play when she got off the train and went to work. There's nothing about the discovery. It's been 3-4 days now since he's gotten this, and I found that to be really odd. Then I started to think, okay, Nitty doesn't want to talk to Maria about discovery. There's some important information in there that he now is aware of. But he's also aware that these calls are being recorded. So I thought about it. In other cases, there's a little trick that these inmates do. They use another inmate's account to call the person they want to talk to because they know How would I know to look for that? Well, what I did was I researched Maria's number through the system that records the calls to see if anybody else, any other inmate in the jail had called Maria's number, and I hit pay dirt. So when I query the database to see if any other inmates have called Maria's numbers, I actually find 2 different inmates that use their account to call Maria. Those are the 2 inmates' calls that I started to zero in on. And as I started to listen to each of these inmates' accounts, the person that is actually speaking to Maria using these other inmates' accounts, you guessed it, Lee Hines.
You may start the conversation now.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right.
He's using another inmate's account, thinking there's no way that we're gonna know that this conversation is taking place because it's not on his own account. And he has diarrhea of the mouth. He is speaking only about the discovery package. And what I'm hearing him say is absolutely nuts.
Read it.
It's a lot, man.
One of the first calls I listen in on is Nitty telling Maria that when he got discovery, he's actually got all of the statements from all of his ex-girlfriends that I took. One in particular that he's zeroing in on with Maria is the statement I took from Jackie, his ex-girlfriend, that when I traveled to New York City, I personally interviewed with Detective Wilkowski.
She told the detectives that Lee always told her about killing people and that he would do it to me, but no one was listening. She went on to say that it was all fresh in her head back then. She continued saying that she would pay him, Lee Hines, no mind, but he used to say it all the time. I asked what it was that Mr. Hines would say all the time. Lee Hines, told me all the time that he killed the girl down south and he had her body right in the house and no one even knew she was dead in there. Lee Hines said that the family was all up in the house and everything, and just thought she was missing until the body started to sting. He also told me he could do the same to me because that's how he does. He said that they locked him up for it and that he still wanted for it.
He's literally reading Jackie's statement when she told me that Nitty admitted to her that he killed the girl in Atlanta, that didn't find her body until it started smelling, and all of these things that are incriminating against Nitty that Jackie said. I'm shocked. Nitty is giving all of this information to Maria, and Maria is just soaking it up.
That discovery packet, that's yours, right? You keep that, right?
Yeah, it's mine. The lawyer said he made a copy of everything, but he didn't look at it yet. He just made a copy of everything because they pushed it Friday and he got it today. So he just made a copy of everything and brought it back and bought me my now. So he's gonna go look at it and all that.
Next up in the roster, he starts to read to Maria the statement from Tay. She's the one that I actually spoke to on the phone and got her statement, and she also said some really bad things about Nitty.
She stated the following. She estimated that her relationship with Nitty was approximately 10 years. She stated that 7 years ago, after he had been released after spending some time in jail in Georgia, she thinks it was seven months. She received a telephone call from him. He told her that he had something that he needed to tell her, something that he needed her to know about him, but he didn't want her to be afraid of him. He then went on to tell her that he had killed 3 people, either 2 females and 1 male, or 2 males and 1 female. She didn't remember which, but she does know that it was 3. She told him that she didn't believe him. She hung up. He came to her house later. He showed her the paperwork from when he had been in jail in Atlanta, Georgia for murder 1. It was a carbon copy, official looking papers, which his name and the charges on it. After showing the paper, he told that the papers were from when he killed a female in Atlanta, Georgia. He offered no explanation as to why he killed a female other than to say that he did what he had to do. Over the years during this relationship, numerous times he has threatened to choke her, burn her house down, and to send people to hurt her. It is for this reason that she has been fearful to speak against him. That was it. That was it.
Next up, Jen. She's the woman I interviewed who had a relationship with Nitty, who while they were in South Carolina, he assaulted her and tried to set her on fire. And he's repeating to Maria everything that she said to me that's incriminating against Nitty.
After they got to South Carolina, he became very controlling. He didn't want her talking to anyone or even working. She didn't know anyone down there in South Carolina initially. he knew people did. He tried his best to isolate her, to keep her away from contact and making friends with people. It was hard for her there because he knew people and she didn't. He became abusive to her. She said that she would stupidly go back with him. She know that he killed a girl in Georgia because he told her son that he did when he got back from Georgia. Also had a lady pair of, check this out, Burberry shoes and a thin gold chain with little gold balls that she feels that he had to have taken it from that girl. When she was finally going to leave, she was in a hotel room in South Carolina, and he walked in and overheard her making bus arrangements to New York. He didn't say anything at first, but he knew that was going back to New York. Then laid down for a while and went to sleep. She woke up to him pouring some kind of liquid all over her. He then lit it and her legs went up. She was screaming. People at the hotel called the police, ran the police. When the police caught him and locked him up, said that him really hated women. I really hated women. He told her that he had a girl gagged and chained in his basement. I'm so sick, you understand?
Nitty's demeanor during this conversation is jovial. He's joking. He's not concerned one bit. He's actually telling Maria that this is all one big conspiracy. All of these women are just basically coming at me because they're just pissed off because I don't love them no more. He even went as far as to mention me to Maria, that I'm part of this conspiracy, that I've got something against him, and that I have it out for him, that I'm gonna take whatever information anybody says at face value and use it against him.
So you only got 4 statements about the Atlanta charge.
Yes, people that saying that I told them about it. But if you see that she had the paperwork that I had.
All of them had the same paperwork.
Yeah, all of them had the same paperwork.
That's how they don't know about it.
Exactly, man. This is what it is. And they working with Velazquez to put me, like, to hang me, like, simple.
As I'm listening to this conversation between Nitty and Maria, I want to know what Maria's reaction is. And true to form, Maria is ride or die.
So let me tell you something. Them statements all in there, all them bitches, they hostile. All of them, they all mad. And all of them had all his paperwork. All 4 of them. So at the end of the day, they all send the same shit because they all have the same paper. Okay?
A normal person, I would expect them to be thinking, this man is a monster. These women couldn't have gotten all of these stories. They don't even know each other. And they're all basically saying the same thing, that Nitty is a monster, but not Maria. She is basically saying all these women are making this up just to frame you, just to get back at you because whatever reason things didn't work out. Maria is in 100% defense mode of Lee Hines.
And I need to get a bond, my like, that's it. So we need to really press for him to give a bond. And I'm putting in the paperwork for the speedy trial. Like,
there's nothing there. You need to come home already.
See, he said they don't think that they're going to go to trial because it's not enough to go to trial. So what they're going to usually do, they try to bluff.
Nitty tells Maria that this is one big conspiracy, that the district attorney and myself included were just piling evidence on him to put the pressure on him to take a deal. He actually tells Maria he thinks he's going to get a bond because all that we have is these statements of these women against him. I'm actually sitting in my office listening to this conversation and laughing. There's no way in hell that this man would get a bond.
You feel me? Like, take this.
Don't take You're not taking nothing because you didn't do nothing.
This conversation continues between Maria and Lee Hines, and then the hammer drops. I hear something I never thought I would expect to hear. Nitty starts to tell Maria he wants Maria to go after all of these women, these ex-girlfriends of Nitty, to intimidate them, instill fear in them to the point where they'd be afraid to testify.
Take care of that, man. Send your family at that bitch, hard body, full force.
She's done. My cousin's gonna have a party with that bitch. Oh my God.
He goes down the list, each witness and what he wants them to do. He's actually sharing information with Maria that includes these witnesses' addresses.
This is what I want you to take down. I want you to take this down. You got a pen and a piece of paper? Oh, I got this bitch. I got her.
I'm gonna leave that bitch shaking in her knee.
Don't call off of none of our phones or nothing.
Nah, I don't care. It's me. I'm calling her from that payphone. You don't know.
They are actually conspiring and coming up with plans for each of these women that have given statements against Nitty to include Maria admitting that she would use a payphone. to call these women and directly threaten them with harm if they testify against Nitty. This was huge. And one has to ask, if all of this was BS, as Nitty had told Maria earlier, why would he be concerned? But he is concerned. He knows that these women who he's abused in the past, who've given information to me against him, is going to be part of his downfall, and he needs to silence them. And he's trying to use Maria as the vehicle to do it. No witness is safe and no witness is clear from Nitty's wrath.
I need to start shaking these cages like that. They doing it since they done went involuntary, then giving statements, calling detectives and all types of shit.
You're only doing that because you're in jail. Should be crying soon.
This back and forth with Nitty and Maria keeps going on about all these witnesses and what he wants her to do. It's almost like a coach talking to the quarterback of a football team. And the quarterback is like, yeah, coach, this is the play, I'm down. But then all of a sudden the conversation takes a twist. Because just like a coach would do to a quarterback, he wants the play and the future plays to go well, but he starts talking to the quarterback about all the losses and the bad plays that happened in the past. And just like that, Nitty switches the game on Maria and starts coming after her.
You need to go at a hard body, man. Like, that's what you need to do.
Got this, baby, I got this. What? I got this.
You're supposed to have had it the first time. See, if you would have did it the first time I told you to do this, I wouldn't even be going through this right now. That's why I tell you, like, when I tell you to do things, you need to do them. I know best for me. So if I tell you to rattle the cage, you rattle the cage. You understand?
I understand.
This is his MO. He wants to make sure that Maria is 100% invested. So what does he do? He starts to berate her. He starts to break her down. He tells her things like, you should have been doing this before. You should have known this was going to happen. He's gaslighting her to the point where she starts to get mad. This is just another form of control that Nitty has over Maria. He wants to be absolutely sure that when he hangs the phone up, that Maria knows the plan, is gonna put the plan into action, and is gonna report back success. Just like a coach telling the quarterback, make that play, make the touchdown, and we'll celebrate later.
I'm not trying to have these smut bitches and all that be my downfall on some punk-ass statements.
Okay, so what you expect now?
I don't expect nothing, man. I just expected you to do what I asked you to do. That's it. Simple.
I got you, babe. I love you.
I love you too.
When this call ended, there was no doubt in my mind that these witnesses were in danger. I knew that Maria was committed to this plan, and whatever her plan was, it was gonna start as soon as that phone call ended. Now, I'm listening to this call after the fact. This call happened days earlier, so I'm 3 days behind already. But I gotta get on the phone, I've gotta call Detective Wilkowski, I gotta let him know what just happened, what I heard, and he needs to reach out to these witnesses in New York City to let them know what's going on and for them to be extra safe. I also needed to call our local district attorney to let them know what just happened. If Nitty ever thought he was gonna get a bond, that would never happen at this point. One of the elements of granting a defendant bond is a flight risk. Number two, the possibility that they may intimidate witnesses. Nitty has now demonstrated that is actually what he wants to do. So one thing, I gotta let the DA know that. No bond, ever. After calling Detective Wilkowski and my local DA, I felt the urgency to actually call Maria herself. I could not take the chance of her doing anything to any of these witnesses. So I called Maria's number. She didn't answer the phone, so I left a voicemail and I let her know to back down.
Detective Velazquez, Atlanta PD. It's November 4th, Monday, 9:18 p.m. Calling in regards to your attempt, or what you're trying to do is contact through your cousin. You're trying to contact her. You're also trying to reach out to you called that number as well. That is a crime. Those are witnesses for the state. If you contact anybody that is a witness for the state in this case and try to tamper with them or try to harass or intimidate them, you will be arrested, okay? I'd be willing to talk to you if you want to talk about it, but I'm just letting you know, I'm giving you fair warning. If we get a call from or any witness that they were contacted by anybody that's associated with you or Lee Hines, you'll be getting contacted by NYPD, and then Lee Hines will be dealing with another charge here in Georgia. Any questions, call me. Thanks.
Time goes by and I try Maria one more time. She actually answers the phone. I explained to her, I left her a voicemail, she says she got it, and I get into it with her. I say, I listened to the phone calls you had with Nitty. I know that you guys are conspiring to intimidate these witnesses. Maria goes into full denial mode. Didn't happen. I'm like, Maria, I listened to the phone calls. It's your voice. I know it was you. Deny, 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 to the point where Maria eventually hangs up the phone. I follow up with all of the witnesses some days later and weeks later. Nothing ever happened. None of the witnesses were contacted. So apparently my phone call to Maria worked. That plan never went into play. I think she got the message, leave these people alone. Months have gone by, Nitty is still tucked away in our jail, and we're getting ready for trial. And finally, I get a call from our crime lab to tell me, Vince, check your email. I open my email and I see the reports from all the forensic evidence that I had submitted. And it was like Christmas Day. The first thing I opened was that clump of hair that was found in our victim's hand, scientifically through DNA, matches that 100% of Lee Hines. I then click on the next thing, the CD cover recovered from LaCharity Gaines' vehicle found at the bus station in North Carolina, 100% matches the palm print of Lee Hines. And finally, fingernail clippings taken from my victim at autopsy were tested for DNA, and 100% DNA matches that of Lee Hines. This case was a slam dunk, done. Forensically, scientifically, Lee Hines is cooked. All of the other evidence, now added with the scientific evidence that a jury's gonna hear, guarantees that this man was gonna be convicted. So the first person I needed to call was Detective Wilkowski over at NYPD to let him know the great news. Eddie answers the phone and I said, Eddie, I got some good news for you. All of the science came back, case closed. Eddie Wilkowski got emotional. He basically told me he didn't feel he had enough evidence to close his case in New York City, but he had solace and gratitude and felt great that at least he knew that Lee Hines was never gonna get out of prison and hurt anybody else. Detective Wilkowski was ecstatic. Now we knew the only thing left in this whole crazy case was to go to trial. It's now November 2014 and Lee Hines finally is standing trial for the murder of LaCharity Gaines. It's now been 11 years since the murder of my victim and 4 years since I opened this cold case. So now the trial's beginning and all of the evidence is being presented. All of the witnesses that we've talked about so far are flown into Atlanta to testify against Nitty. Finally, the scientists get on the stand and they talk about the forensic evidence, and this case is going great. All of a sudden, the DA calls me and says, you're not gonna believe this. We have a surprise witness. What the DA explained to me, that during a break in the trial, in the hallway, he overheard a woman who happens to be the cousin of the victim's best friend. And if you recall, the best friend's mother lived below the victim, and the best friend happened to speak to the victim on the night she disappeared. Well, the DA tells me in that conversation with this cousin, this newly discovered witness, she tells him that she actually was with the victim in her apartment and with Lee Hines the night that she disappeared. She was braiding their hair one at a time. And during this encounter, this witness says they were arguing and that she overheard Nitty say to the victim, "I'll kill you." She basically is saying he made a direct threat that night to murder her. This witness was never discovered, and there was a big argument now because they had to let the defense know. The defense argued this is not a witness that we were made aware of, and the law allows a witness that is newly discovered to testify. A brief argument before the judge, and this witness was allowed to testify in front of the jury. So the jury then hears that a direct threat was made by the defendant Lee Hines to the victim to kill her on the very night that he actually did it. And the reason why the surprise witness never came forward during the original investigation, I later found out that she didn't really think that that was relevant. She was young, she didn't really understand the law, so she never said anything until this case went to trial. So after consideration of all of the evidence I collected in this case, my theory is that as LaCharity was in the apartment the night that she was killed, she had already demonstrated and voiced her concern about getting rid of this guy, Lee Hines. She said it to her mom, she said it to her friends, and she wanted him out. That night, she put her children to bed. An argument ensued as she's telling him to leave the apartment, and Nitty is not the man to take rejection. He wants to be in control. He doesn't want to be told no, and he is a serial abuser. So he's not taking no for an answer. And this argument turned violent, where he starts to assault this victim to the point where she starts to fight back. That would explain the clump of hair from Nitty found in her hand. As this altercation continues and they're actually physically tussling, she runs away and she tries to call the neighbor. If you recall, the neighbor didn't answer the phone. She hangs up the phone. That didn't work. The fight ensues. They're going at it. And then at some point, Nitty pulls out a knife and he stabs her in the back. That stab wound actually punctured her lung and actually caused her death. That is likely the scream that the neighbor reported to police she heard later that night. Nitty then cleans up the crime scene, wraps this victim up in a rug, puts her in the pantry, cleans up, gathers all of his belongings, steals her shoes, steals her necklace, steals her car, steals the cash she got from her tax return, flees in her car to North Carolina where he abandons it at a bus station and presumably takes a bus back to New York City. This is a tragic tale of a woman who wants to get out of an abusive relationship, and it ultimately ends in her death. So now all of the evidence has been presented at trial. All the witnesses have testified. All of the forensic evidence has been presented. The jury took copious notes, and now they're in deliberation. This is one of the most stressful moments for a case, is when you're waiting for a jury to render a verdict. Just like every other case, I'm sitting there with the family of my victim, and the jury enters the courtroom. They inform the court that they have reached a decision. The jury foreman stands up and reads the verdict out loud. He has been found guilty on all counts. As they're reading the verdict, I am looking at Hines' face, and just like the man I've gotten to know him to be, he is absolutely expressionless. He shows no emotion. He wasn't fazed by it one bit. And that was the end of this case. The family was crying, everyone was happy for the verdict, and they took Hines out. The judge rendered the sentence for his guilty verdict, and his sentence was life in prison without the possibility of parole. This case took me through so many different emotions, and one of the many things that resonate with me with this case is the very first phone call I got from Detective Wilkowski in New York. And then to hear the desperation in his voice, knowing that whatever he was calling about was that important, I could hear it in his voice. I took the time out of my day to make sure that I gave him my attention. And little did I know that his case that he's calling for assistance on would then end up allowing me to solve an open homicide that in all aspects of what we knew at the time was a closed case. We had a case that deserved justice. Had it not been for that call by this NYPD detective, this case would have remained unsolved. One of the other things that I really remember about this case was working so closely with a detective that's not even in my own jurisdiction. Working with someone who was so passionate about closing their case that they would forego doing what they needed to do for their case to help me close my case in order to get the same killer off the streets. And we were successful. This is a classic cold case investigation with a successful ending. And one thing that I will always remember is that listening to the phone calls of Hines, understanding the psychology of the person he was, had we not closed this case, I think there would have been a number of other women that would have died at the hands of Hines. Coming up on The Murder Mind.
I went on there, hey, buddy, and then I look closer, and I saw you had been shot in the head.
I felt like this would just be like any other regular homicide case. Little did I know, when I opened this file, what I was in store for. We are recording. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit the like button and subscribe. And please check me out on other social media platforms, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Lastly, don't forget to come back for the next episode. You won't want to miss it.